Hey everyone, this is Chris Coley. I'm the senior pastor of Crosswinds. Welcome back to the Crosswinds Church More Than Sunday podcast. We've got an episode today that we're continuing in these series that we're doing, a series of episodes we're doing from time to time on our visit to Community First Village in Austin, Texas. And I have a special guest with me today, Kim Curtis, who went down with us. You're going to hear a little bit about what Kim does here that makes her especially qualified for a trip like the one we went on, and a little bit about her passion. And then we talk some about what we saw in Austin. So enjoy this. All right, everyone, I'm here with Kim Curtis. Kim, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad you're joining us for this right now. We've been doing a series of episodes on our visit to Austin, Texas and Community First Village. And Kim and her husband, Daniel, joined us down there. And for a variety of reasons, I will say I went down, first time, I think back in September, I believe it was. And I walked onto this site of this village, tiny homes all over and formerly homeless people who were chronically homeless there in the village. And for some reason, God whispered your name. I don't say that a lot, but I just felt like this whisper of like Kim Curtis, and was really weird because I had not talked to you in a few years.
Yeah.
And I reached out when I got home and I just said, hey, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm supposed to sit down with you and tell you about this place. And then we went back in February and you and Daniel came back. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about your experience there, but before we even get into that, Kim, will you tell us what in the world it is that you do for a living?
So I do mental health at Santa Rita Jail. I work in intake a couple days a week. So anyone that comes in that looks like they're either having a hard time with just being arrested, or if they have some mental health symptoms, I'll see them there and get them connected into our system. And then I'm assigned to the severest population. So that's my housing unit. They are the severest mentally ill, or they also have the severest charges.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have a scary job. I think most of us would look at that and think it is incredibly scary. Like, are you Silence of the Lambs lady who goes in and meets with what does that look like?
Yeah. As I walk down the hall, they no. When I walk into it, they usually, I've been in the same house for 4 years. So I have.
What does that mean? The same house?
So there's
for those of us who haven't spent much time in Santa Rita, what does that look like?
So there's individual housing units depending on where they're assigned, what their charges are, and what is going on with them. So each housing unit has 6 units inside those where they're housed in different cells. So all my guys are housed individually in individual cells, and they're just starting to get to where they can come out as a group. This is a new thing we're trying, and so far so good. We're doing good with this. So when I go in, I've earned my street cred. It took a while. I had to earn it with the deputies and I had to earn it with the inmates, right? Because I'm putting both of them. If something pops off, the deputies have to protect me. So I have to earn their credit too, that they trust me now to go in and be safe. Yeah. So when I go in now, all I hear is Miss Kim everywhere. Can you talk to me today? I need to talk to you today. So it's really very different than when I first got there and had to know that.
So do you call them prisoners if they're in jail? Clients. You call them clients.
I call them clients.
It's a great way to look at it. Okay, so do the clients, are they excited about seeing you at this point? Or do you find that they're like, oh, got to go see my therapist?
I have to often remind them that they shouldn't be so excited to see me when they come back to custody, because it is like coming home. They see my face and I'm the one that's going to make sure that they're okay that day. Yeah, so for people who are out in the community that are often not seen, even though they're right in front of you, or they're ignored because you do see them, it's a sad situation. So when they come into custody or they come into my house, they're pumped. And I usually say something like, oh, I'm so glad I get to see you, not under these circumstances, but it's good to see you because now I know you're alive, and they know that too, right? There's always that.
Right. We could do an entire podcast on your job. This is fascinating to me. I have so many questions. There's so many questions that I could ask about this. Are you so? We won't do the whole thing on this, but
Okay.
are you? Do you find yourself scared anymore? I mean, you had to be intimidated the first time you walked in.
No, it actually took 2 years, and then I have one guy that has actually scared me,
So
and
wait, it took 2 years to get scared
yeah,
or to get over being scared?
to get scared.
What do you mean? I mean, like the first 2 years, you didn't have one moment where you were.
No, because this. So I have to explain this to Daniel all the time too. This is the safest job I've ever had. So for me, you're in a controlled environment. I'm in
Mhm.
street clothes. I'm your friend.
Right, right.
I've done different stuff in different psychiatric systems where I've had to approach without support from a uniform and
Yeah.
de-escalate you. So this is the safest. I was always like, this is great. I have somebody that's just going to come in, and I've never had. No, I take that back. I've had one time where a deputy stepped in between, and it was such a fluid dance where I stepped back and he stepped in.
Yep.
So it was not scary.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. Well, I'm so grateful you exist. Someone like you doing this. It's a really big deal. So let's talk a little bit about Austin, and maybe before we even jump into that, Kim, what was your experience prior to Austin with homelessness? You had told me when you and I sat down for coffee to talk a little bit about Austin and what I had seen there before you went, about like you being a high school student going down to the Tenderloin. Was it high school you were going down to the Tenderloin? And
Yeah.
wait, what explain that to us.
So my parents had me enrolled in Barbizon so that I could
Barbizon,
Barbizon, the
the
modeling school.
okay, okay.
Project.
I had no idea what Barbizon was. When I
Yeah.
hear Barbizon, I think Barbasol, which is a guy, is the thing they put the scissors in at the barber shop
Is that what it's
to
called?
keep them clean
Oh,
and disinfected, or
no.
combs. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I think that's what that's called. Whatever. Go on. You were in
Oh,
Barbizon.
I was in Barbizon, which was up off of Pal. And so we would BART into Market, and you were supposed to walk up Pal to, I don't even know where it is. It's like where the past where the Four Corners is of that shopping center. And so I would go on BART with a couple other girls that would continue the journey all the way to Barbizon. And I would duck into that McDonald's that is right there. And I would buy the 2 cheeseburger meals. And then I would sit down and share my meals and hear the stories. And
Yeah.
my parents did know. And
Yeah.
they just kind of said, she's going to do what she does. And we'll just pray that she'll be okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you had something in you that felt a heart for people in homelessness for a long time. I mean, this has been going on in you, and obviously weren't scared then or intimidated. And there'd be a lot of people who
No.
would.
I wanted to know because I came from such a loving home that in my mind, I felt like people were choosing. And I
Mm,
wanted to know why they would choose to not be in a warm, safe home because I didn't understand that there were other homes that weren't that way. And so
got
once
it.
I started to learn that, then I understood that sometimes living on the street and being that exposed to the elements and to potential violence from a stranger is way safe feeling than being harmed by someone that's supposed to love you.
Yeah, makes sense. That's again in, incredibly mature for a teenager to have thought that through and figured that out, and to even to feel what you felt in the midst of all of it. That's great. Okay, so let's talk Austin a little bit then. What did you think you were getting into on your way down, and what was your experience when you walked into the place? I mean, what were your takeaways even from all of this?
So when I looked at it online, I
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't have a picture of what it actually was going to be like, and it was breathtaking for me
Mm,
to walk in and see how big these homes were instead of like the closet. I kind of figured it was going to look like an outdoor shed and
yeah.
that you would have a cot in it and that we would be like, look, we saved you. Um,
Yeah, because those exist. Let's acknowledge that, especially here in California. You're seeing tiny home communities pop up around here. There's one over in San Jose. I have not been to visit it, so I hate to diss it, but when I look at it, it almost looks like an outhouse that somehow can fit a bed in it,
yeah,
uh, under some power lines near a freeway, and people think, well, this is at least better than a tent.
right.
Um, on the side of the freeway. So let's do this instead. That is not what we saw at Community First.
No, they were homes. And for me, because I get to see people living in their tiny cells every day,
Yeah.
it bothers me that they're being moved to another tiny cell, right? And
Yeah.
and it's isolating with small spaces, and there's a lot of claustrophobia after you've been homeless for a while and you've had so much space to be closed into a wall. That's what I expected. And I was wondering how they were making it effective. Oh, sorry. What I loved about it was how personalized each home was and how the porches faced each other. So there's a sense of safety, but because they had the fences around it. So you had this, I could be outside, I could be with my neighbors, but I could still have personal space and I could make sure that I was taking care of my own whatever history and trauma I had. So I loved that.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'd be curious to hear your thought. You just mentioned the community and the sense of safe space and porches that open up onto each other. One of Community First Village's core beliefs is that the reason someone is homeless is the what do they call it? The profound catastrophic loss of family. Is that what your experience has been in your work, in your time as a teenager in the Tenderloin? I mean, what would you agree with that?
I would say so. I would say it goes back further to some trauma history as a child, whether it's physical or emotional or just abandonment, being taken away, their parents also being incarcerated at that time. So there's stuff there. And then there's that they can't sustain a family or a community themselves because of the trust issues that are broken or the things that their personalities that have developed out of whatever childhood trauma that has happened. So that's missing. And if Maslow's, if you look at it, there's that's my go-to all the time.
The hierarchy of needs. We all remember that from Psych 101, right?
Everybody should know about it. And because we should know about it right now, because COVID had rocked us and knocked us down steps on our own selves who are secure. So we should all be looking at that now. But
okay. Remind us what is the pyramid on the hierarchy of needs?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's just basic needs. Bottom line is your housing and being safe is your second one. So housing is your big one, right? Your food. I need to know where food is. I need to know where shelter is. And then there's personal safety is your second one. And then there's and then there's community, right? And then there's other stuff, which is where most of us land. But we can take care of your basic needs, but you're not going to grow and become able to sustain it if you don't have community.
Love that.
It's your third tier.
I'm pausing as I hear you say it because I wonder if a lot of the solutions that people come up with are strictly the bottom one: housing, shelter, and Community First Village is really not about just that one. It's about the whole hierarchy ultimately.
Whole person.
Yeah.
Did Housing First model in Alameda County. I did that for 6 years working with abode services. And we started when it was just like the hot topic. And we were going out in the street and we were engaging people into services. And then we would help them get an apartment in Fremont, Livermore, Hayward area. But then we kind of took them from their community in their encampment and we moved them to their apartment next to strangers who looked different, acted different, and we expected them to now become well. And what actually happened is they began moving in their other homeless friends because that's what you do when you have a house and you have them.
And you have no community. You create community and you bring who you do know. Right, yeah. Right.
So then they would get evicted and back to the street.
Yeah.
So not a successful model, but it was better than what we had before.
Kim, I've had a few people on to talk a little bit about what they saw down there. Aaron Horner's come on and shared a lot about the people he's met there. Emily Nelson, who went down with us, came on and talked about what struck her. I think she talked a little bit about the dignity that she saw in the way they operated. Just opportunities for work and ways for people to earn a dignified income. I believe I had Christine Beachbach-Monty on. I know I had her on. I think we talked about that in addition to the other work that CityServe does. You did something really special. The rest of us left after a couple of days there, And you and your husband were hanging out in Austin anyway to see some old Crosswinds people and reconnect and hang out. And you guys went back into the village with a camera. We had a camera crew kind of go down with us and record our journey. Which, by the way, I don't think I've seen any footage whatsoever of that. Have you seen?
No, I haven't seen anything. I will
not,
ask him and see where that is.
we should find out. But you guys went back and hung out and just started meeting with people. And how much time did you spend there the next day?
We spent a couple hours hanging out on the porch that Riverbend. Is that the church from Austin?
Yeah.
That Norm Schoenfeld was with. So he took us over there, and we got to sit on the porch of their tiny home, which is a trailer, and the staff that they have volunteers that come and stay and runs men's groups and things off of the deck. And so people would come and gather, and they would tell us their story of where they were before they had the housing and how they transitioned. That was like for them, and what they're doing now, and so involved with their employment. And one of them rushed in on his 15-minute break from cleaning one of the new houses for a new resident coming in. And then he got called by his boss, and it was really cool. And he had to tell him what he was doing and ask for permission to finish up before he ran back. But you could tell it was really important to him that he had this job, and he wanted to make sure he didn't lose it because he was hanging out with us. So it was really neat.
Yeah. Any stories that stick out to you from the people you talked to the next day of what had happened in their life for them to become unhoused, and then what had happened since they joined the village?
A couple of them were from the Bay Area, and
no kidding.
Fully employed. And it was just one of them, he drove for one of the carpet cleaning companies and got a DUI while he was out here. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't pass the background anymore, lost his job, became homeless, went to Austin because it was less expensive, was homeless out there for a long time, ended up using some substances just to, cope with being homeless. And they got a hold of him, and they rallied, his case manager rallied for him to get into the program. He's the one that they said he works 2 or 3 jobs out there. He's always busy. He's always giving back. He said idle hands. It's that word about devil's work. So he said, I got to work. I got to keep busy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Really cool. Another one, he had been in housing with his grandma. He had really bad diabetes, and one of his legs was amputated, so he was on disability. His grandma passed away, and the house was gone. So he ended up homeless and one-legged. The diabetes took the other leg later on. And so he was going to be released to the street with no legs.
Wow.
The caseworker helped him get into the program.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So he was at risk of being homeless, as it sounds like in this case, and was able to move directly.
He was homeless with one leg, and he was going to be 2-legged
after the operation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was really appreciative of having a place to live, and that he was pretty sure he would be dead if he was out on the street, which is pretty likely.
Wow. Yeah. I would just encourage anybody who's listening to this, it's one thing to hear our stories. One of the things I love to do when I'm sitting with somebody and trying to just tell them about this, I go to their YouTube channel. Again, the name of the ministry that built this village is called Mobile Loaves and Fishes, or Mobile Fishes and Loaves. I think Loaves and Fishes. And they have built this thing called Community First Village. If you go to their YouTube channel, you can just watch video after video. And many of those they're all like short 4-minute, 5-minute videos. Many of them are like tours and things like that just kind of show you around their campus, which is just so unbelievable to look at. I mean, it's a master planned community. That's a master planned tiny home community. That's the most important thing to know as you look at it. But the other thing you can do is just watch story after story of someone sharing kind of what difference this place has made in their lives. And I always think it's a good way to go and just try to see what this thing is all about. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Your story.
All right. Yeah. Kim, thank you for your time and hanging out with us, sharing with us a little bit about this whole thing. And grateful for you and what you do at Santa Rita, and grateful you would join us down there.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.